Welcome to the My Tech Toolbelt Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Brenda. And this is a podcast where we highlight educators who innovate, engage, and inspire through the use of technology. Well, today on the My Tech Toolbelt Podcast, we are so excited to again have the opportunity to meet with Jon Corippo, who is the Executive Director for Q. And Q is the ISTE affiliate for both California and Nevada. Very excited to talk with you again because...
Hashtag big name.
Hashtag big name. You remember.
Oh my God, that was so funny last year when you guys were trolling me. You have hashtag big name.
Well, yeah, things haven't changed much because we still think you are a very hashtag big name.
But I think you guys are hashtag big name too.
Oh, we are getting another hashtag.
Lowercase big name.
So we are so excited to talk to you, especially this year, because we had talked to you a year ago, right after the conference, and we wanted to catch up and see the changes,
It's so funny
what is going on in Jon Corippo's head.
Because last year was my first attempt at leading Spring Q, right? And then you guys hashtag big named me into meeting with you like 30 minutes after the event. like 3 days of this and 7 months of lead up. And then, I can do a podcast right after. No problem. So this year we held off 9 hours. Yeah,
that's right.
Then got to sleep first. I'll be much more sharp this year.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Oh, it's so fun to share. I love sharing.
And not only that, you are very open to talk to anybody,
the
which
truth
I
is the truth,
love.
Man. The truth is the truth. I think probably one of the biggest things in education that I'm passionate about is PLNs and no silos. And the idea, like when I see teachers that struggle, almost every time they have no PLN. Let's just make it that simple, right? And then they come to school every day and they make their copies. I'm just going to let that sit there. Yeah. Right. They come to school, they make their copies, they hand out their copies. The kids hate the copies. Some kids like getting a grade, so they're willing to play the game of copies. Some kids are not. And then the teacher goes home on Friday thinking, I'm probably not that good at this, but this is what I have tenure, so I'm just going to do this for the next 18 years. And I think that is so poisonous for human kids to be in. And once you meet 2 or 3 nuts, like a Ann Cosma, Ben Cogswell character, you start going, oh my God, I'm doing this wrong. And it can be way less work. I'm going to let that sit there for a second. Way less work.
And more fun.
And so much more fun, right? Like, if you've ever been a young person that has imagined throwing a party, what if your class was kind of like throwing a party every day? But we have in our head this idea that I have to be tough on kids and I need to make them do things and line up and all that stuff. And it turns out you don't actually. You don't actually have to do those things.
And you don't have to do it with force. They'll do it naturally for you if they respect you. And that's what's so cool. Yeah. Well, I think that's cool. And you're kind of transitioning us, perfectly into.
That's my jam.
Yeah. No, you're throwing us softballs is, coming to a conference like this, you said this year, we're a 365-day conference. We're every day.
It's a lifestyle event.
It is.
It really is.
And this is the culmination of a year's worth of fun and excitement and personal professional development and building your PLN. And this is a place where you can come and meet those people. Meet the end.
Well, and that was like one of our big new successes, I think, in my opinion, it was the sticker swap. Right?
Oh, that by far.
So fun.
Right. So one day I'm driving along and all my friends are sticker geeks, right? And I've been a sticker geek since the 70s, but in the 70s, and this is kind of a fun parallel story to education. In the 70s, you could only buy stickers.
Right.
So I was a BMXer in the late 70s and I would buy my JT racing sticker and my DG BMX sticker. I would buy stickers. Now, because of things like Sticker Mule and Canva, you can make your own stickers.
They're amazing.
And they're crazy cheap, right?
Yeah.
And then
beautiful.
And they're so creative. I mean, you want to talk about the 4 C's, right? So one just launched this morning. There was a guy named Paul Gordon who was doing some really cool stuff yesterday, and he made a project work. And so somebody just hashtagged it, Paul is Batman. And his tweet back was, okay, I think I need a sticker. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the same thing I want kids to have. That same kind of, I had a vision, I can make something, I have the tools, and my community will appreciate what I do. So the sticker swap is basically, I was driving along and I was thinking, how can we do something to leverage stickers? Because everybody's doing the stickers, but it's just chaos. Like, I have a sticker, you have a sticker. Ed Campos has like 75 stickers. And I was like, wow. And then I had this kind of thought of Olympic pin trading.
Oh, yeah.
Or Disney pin trading.
Disney pin trading.
There's a full culture about that, right? And what my favorite part is giving away pins, right? They're not buying pins in most cases, they're swapping. And so what we had was about 20 tables set up, and people could email us and say, I want to score a table, no cost. And then we bought everybody a little blue beach visor with the blue, and that way you could put your sticker right on your visor, so that there was now a form to it. So you could go from table to table and eyeball somebody's visor and go, oh, those 3 stickers are you. I follow you on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I love all the stuff you do. And now you're forming a personal connection because of their personal brand. And remember when I was talking about being alone just a minute ago, mm-hmm. right? You don't have to teach alone. You don't have to. That's a decision. I'll give George Kiros credit on that. If you're not a connected educator, that is a decision. You cannot say, I didn't know anymore. You're right. Deciding to be isolated, which leads you back to that classroom, where you're trying to create everything. Dude, don't try to create everything. Steal like crazy. If you're a chef and you come to Palm Springs, what you probably are going to do is hit up 4 restaurants that have a far out menu, right?
Yeah.
So I learned this from Antonio Manriquez. There's a restaurant here called Cheeky's. Everybody loves some Sherman's, right? Sherman's is a tradition. You know what Cheeky's has? Bacon flights.
What?
See, as soon as I say it, you're like, oh my God, I never thought of this. Right? So you can order, they will bring you different flavored bacons.
How did we not know about this?
Well, shout out to Antonio Manriquez at AJ Manx. So he's like, dude, best breakfast ever. That's what should be happening.
Right.
With, this is how I do my, the stupid state report. Watch what I did. I changed it. And this is also ties together with the culture we're in, right? You can't just put 100 people in a room and give them one beer choice.
Right.
Dude, it's ugly. They will not like you for free beer. They're like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. I'm not going to drink just an IPA. Or who's the idiot that only ordered porters, right? So that doesn't even work with beer. And teaching is an infinitely more complex association than beer. But yet we think we can make a copy 40 times. Or if you're in a high school, 160 times.
Right.
And they're all going to go, oh my gosh, I love this photocopy.
Right. This is great.
This is a life-changing work.
This is the best photocopy I've ever had. And it meets my needs.
The photocopy last week's, no, they're nothing like this. You're the best photocopies I've ever had.
This is exactly what I needed.
Yes.
This photocopy.
After filling in these blanks, I believe that I'm going to do this for a career.
I'm so much smarter now.
It's bonkers. So all I'm doing is co-opting what we all do in real life anyways.
Right.
If I bought every attendee to this event the same exact shirt, at least 70% would not wear them.
No.
Because I don't like all cotton. I don't like all nylon. I don't like blue. I don't like white. So I need to give you like 30 shirts, and some people will cut the sleeves off, and other people will do that thing where, you do the little knots across the bottom, they'll flash dance it. Not my thing, man. I don't care. Other people will cut a V-neck into it because they want to be them. They have certain things they're comfortable with. And yet in the classroom, we continue to ignore this concept. Just completely ignore any kind of personalization. And the way I like to put it is this: our aesthetic in teaching, the things that we aspire to, are totally broken. As an industry, we aspire to getting through the whole book. Oh my gosh. I tell people this all the time. Have you ever come up to a teacher and said, I can tell that your kids got through the whole book because they're so much better than the other kids?
What?
Never.
No.
Never. You can't even tell if they got So ergo, getting through the whole book is not a thing, right?
It shouldn't be. Right?
Like if you say, oh, well, you coach a sport and you made it to the playoffs 5 years in a row. What are the chances that you coached every team exactly the same way?
Right. You can't. Well, in every
I just do the same thing every year.
Yeah.
No coach wins like that.
They're pivoting
Bill Belichick
every time.
says, we'll do the same game plan every year. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
In fact, Bill Belichick's famous for having a totally different game plan every game. That's how he messes with people, because the trend is there's no trend.
Right. And you can't figure it out.
You can't figure it out. The trend is there's no trend. And that was our school motto at Minarets for 1 year, and then I lost it. It got away from me. But we made t-shirts that said, we have a tradition of no traditions. Right?
Yeah.
But what's most high school is based on our tradition is, and it just doesn't work. We should probably get on to the second question.
Well, I think so. You said some of the favorite things you did this was the sticker swap.
Sticker swap was a huge hit. Other things that I thought were really cool this year, cute kid booms.
That was cool.
Ben Cogswell ran that in concert with Ann Cosma. So Ann is a member who 2 years ago said, I want to do something cool. And we said, what? And she was like, I don't know yet, but if I did something cool, could that be a thing? So she came up with the booms, which is kind of like an Ignite session. It's kind of our flavor of an ISTE Ignite session. And her and Bill Selleck worked on that together. And it's basically 3 minutes to share something you're passionate about, which could include technology or it could include no technology.
Right.
So that's not the jam. It's just to inspire each other. It's kind of like a spoken word thing. So we had done what was called the Student Powered Showcase for years. And it was cool. It was no bad news. But it was basically what I observed was it was turning into an arms race. Oh, you brought one 3D printer? I'm going to bring 4, right? I'm going to bring 6. You have one Minecraft server? We're going to have 7. And so it became about the gear. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm a gear guy, but what I was seeing was kids doing kind of a science fair about their 3D printer. And I was like, I think we can do better. So we took the boom and made a kid version. And I think what you guys like is it's kind of an EduProtocol. They get 8 slides.
Right.
Don't change the order, but you can delete any one you're uncomfortable with. So you can delete one. And they have titles like Learn-a-Palooza. What are your 4 favorite apps and tell us why? To me, a great teacher is. So they get 8 slides. They can knock off one. They get 3 minutes. But here's what Coach Ben did that was great. He had the kids practicing in Flipgrid, and then he sent the Flipgrids to the adult boomers to give the kids feedback.
That's so cool.
But boom. But that's the PLN, right? So now you have the adults that are going to be doing these booms, giving kids feedback. Oh, I liked this. I like this. So the kids, when they hit the stage, they've already done the thing 3 times with feedback from the adults. And I thought that was really cool.
That's smart.
So Q Kid Booms, I think that's here to stay. We had kids working in the vendor hall this year.
I saw that.
So Phil Harding and Greg McWhorter and hashtag Pocket Bacon, that's a whole other story. They had a bunch of kids working with HoverCam. And so HoverCam sent them some products. The kids in class road tested it. Like they did cool things with it. And so then when people came by the HoverCam booth, they were getting demos from kids.
Brilliant.
If I had this in my classroom, here's what I do. And I haven't seen pictures, but Phil and Greg said there was just tons of traffic. Next year, we're going to have about 10 of those going. And this is how my brain works. So I'm going to have Phil and Greg connect with some of our vendors. The vendors are going to give demos to the kids. The kids are going to have a competition for which team gets to come here and share it in the exhibit hall.
That'd be cool. I know a kid that would volunteer.
You know any kids? And then that was cool. What else was cool? In terms of new stuff, what else was cool? I liked our new paper badges. So that the badge this year was all paper. And yes, a few tore.
Yeah, I think mine tore just one side.
Yeah,
yours didn't.
But it wasn't a complete failure. We can just nudge the paper one thickness thicker next year, but we are not dumping those into the ocean. And if they do hit the ocean, they're going to melt because they're just paper, right? Yeah. The sticker itself is plastic, but at least it's a lot less plastic.
Right. And we peeled it off when we were done.
And you can peel it off when you're done. And then we had the lanyard is made out of bamboo instead of plastic, and the little clippies are metal, and so they'll rust away.
Everything's recyclable.
Well, yeah, and I'm beyond recycling. I need it to be able to break down.
Yeah.
If it flies out of your car window on the home, I want it to eventually disappear, because the whole recycling thing is a big lie. Apparently, we've just been putting it in another can so it can get shipped to China more easily. And they finally said, we're not doing this anymore, right? So there's cities all over America now that are just going to stop recycling and go back to landfill. Oh. Which was what they were doing in China. They were just burying our trash in China. Someday, 1,000 years from now, if the planet's still in working order, that's a whole other show. And then, I liked our duet keynote. I don't know if you guys caught that.
We didn't. I tried to watch it live, but I
So
missed
basically, the concept is there's about 3 things going on. One is, of course, we love bringing in world-class speakers like an Eric Thomas, who was off the hook, right? He was nuts. But then I had this feeling, well, we also have Q people that are pretty good, right?
Yeah.
We got some people that are okay too.
They're pretty cool.
In the idea of mixing, so we had John Eick, Alice Chen, and Martin Cisneros do this new format.
All fantastic.
Which are all fantastic. And basically the idea was John Eick was the moderator. They each got 5 slides on a single subject, and they didn't know what the other person was going to present. So Martin got 90 seconds to share his thought, and it's not a slam, it's a +1. So Alice's job was to take Martin's idea and agree or upgrade it. So 90 seconds and then 30 seconds to upgrade. So like a debate, except we're trying to +1 each other. And it's really walking the high wire because they didn't see each other's slides ahead of time.
Wow.
So they didn't know what was coming. And I think it went really good. There's definitely a few things I can do to help them polish it. But what came through on the Twitter was real.
It was real. Yeah, that's what we saw.
It was passion.
Yeah.
Right. And they talk so much about empathy and culture and understanding, and, you know, and that really, I think, struck a nerve. And I think that was really cool. And then, Eric Thomas was just crazy good. Like,
his was amazing.
He got in our face. He held us accountable. Like, you have to understand when you're running a classroom, there's 30 humans depending on you. That is the reality of our job. If you can wash your hands of that, you should probably not do this job.
Right. Well, and I think one of the things we were talking with Kristina Ishmael after yesterday.
And she is just a hoot, right?
Right? She's amazing.
She's just a hoot.
And she was saying, like, one of her favorite takeaways was self-care, teacher self-care. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't, how do you care for these humans?
I'm so sick of the teacher martyr thing.
Right.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Take care of yourself. And if there's one thing you can do, if you need to take a day and go to the spa, you got to do that.
And that was part of Eric's message, and I thought it was a really great illustration. If your whole class was on a plane and the oxygen mask came down, the teacher would put the mask on all 34 kids first. Right. And he's like, "Bro,
you're dead.
You're not going to make it.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it. You've got to take care of yourself." I thought one of the funniest lines in the whole thing was when he said he wanted his staff to do something fun for teachers, and his staff who were not educators said, "Oh, let's send them to Disneyland with their class." And he was like, "Oh no,
that's the opposite.
You guys do not get where I'm going with this." And that was maybe one of the biggest laughs of the day. People were like, "Oh no, no." He's like, "It'll take them 2 weeks to recover from their fun trip."
Yeah, no, that's
no.
Let's define who needs to have fun.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Other things that were fun this year were, I think the new schedule format worked pretty nicely in terms of we didn't try to start Wednesday, and we were purposeful about that. There was a lot of thought that went into that, because when you start Wednesday night, let's go back to teacher self-care, right? When you start Wednesday night, that means teachers need to travel Wednesday, which means how many days of lesson plans?
Yeah.
3
full days, yeah.
You know what? 1 day of lesson plans is a fair amount of work. 3 days of lesson plans is a freaking odyssey, right? It starts to be a thing. And then for the districts, they get to pay everything plus 3 days of sub pay. And subs are hard to get. So our logic was, let's start printing badges at 11 on Thursday, and sessions start at 3 on Thursday, and then we'll go all day Saturday. And we had sessions that were really pretty full until 3 on Saturday. And then there were probably still 700 to 1,000 people downtown having dinner and enjoying and extending their PLN on Saturday evening. Yeah. So I think that worked pretty well overall, because if you're in the Southland, you could theoretically work Thursday till lunch and be here on time for the first session, right? So, and then we had around 300 people who came just for Saturday.
That was what I was going to say. That Saturday only ticket. I know I brought 4 people.
Yeah, and way more affordable, right? It's easy, $149. And so what I want to build is a culture of, for especially, there's probably 50,000 teachers that are within 3-hour drive.
From San Diego
all the way through almost to Bakersfield, right? Bakersfield's a little farther, but imagine I can get up Saturday morning, and then if I want to grab a hotel Saturday night, and then Sherman's breakfast,
right?
Or Cheeky's, and then cruise home Sunday. To me, that's teacher self-care. I mean, that's really, so I don't have to go nutty, and
no subs,
no sub, and I don't have to ask my boss, at all. I can self-fund. And I think $149 for the day. Like if I said, let's go see a concert that's $149, there's a lot of people that would do that.
Oh yeah.
So it's affordable.
And teachers can use the Donors Choose.
Right. And I want to get really structured with that next year with Donors Choose. We've had some conversations with them. And what I want to get it to is I want to build an aesthetic of, I don't want a $20 gift card from you, Mom and Dad. I don't need another mug. Drop some money in my Donors Choose. Right. I want to get that very clearly articulated so that teachers are asking for Saturday registration and Donors Choose. And then if we get lucky and somebody drops a couple $1,000,000 on us, they could all get funded. So I want to have that geared up for next year, because I think it is so critical that people, they should want to go to an event like this as much as they want to go to wine tasting, beer tasting, food truck event. We should create an event that's interesting enough that they say, I need to do that for me. And so and
it refills their bucket. It refills their bucket emotionally. It refills their bucket intellectually.
And that's why this time of year is perfect, because you reload right for that last 2.5 month run.
Yeah.
And you come back on, okay. And then I'm just going to sidebar a little bit. I hear teachers say this a lot. Oh, that's great. I'll try it in the fall. Do not try it in the fall. Because here's what happens. The first week of school is a blur, and you look up and it's November and you have not tried it in the fall. The best time to go nuts is the day after you finish your smarter balance testing. That should be test tube time. You should be doing all the nutty stuff and doing the reps so that when you get your new class, you're coming out with the new stuff right out of the gate.
Right.
Like right out of the gate. Because otherwise, you have to change your culture midstream.
And you're going to confuse the kids.
And you're going to confuse the kids. And the kids that you have with you in the fall didn't see the 3 times you messed up in the spring.
Right.
So they think you're like, oh my God, he is so on right now. And I'm like, you didn't see the 4 fails, bro.
Yeah. Well, they're not seeing the grit and the growth mindset.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think, what are some of the things you see? I mean, you're in this space every day. So what do you see? What are some trends you see coming through in education right now?
I really liked what Kelly Bergen said in his Gold Disc Award. Oh, by the way, that was another thing I liked that we did this year too, was we used to do the awards in the big general session, and about half of the people in there have no idea what's happening. So that dragged, and they're like, what are we doing? So to keep the energy up, what we did was we moved the actual award presentation to another room that was much cozier, and people made really heartfelt speeches, and they were calling out people in the audience. Those speeches would have sounded nothing like that when they were looking at 2,000 people. So they still got their video played, and they still got to go up on the stage and just wave, which is pretty low cognitive load, right?
Yeah.
So they got their moment on the big stage, and then they did the little breakout. But what Kelly Bergen said, I think, was really relevant, because he's been in the game a long time. He's up in Bakersfield. He said, we spent some years just tinkering with apps and things, and now they're pretty much here, right? Like most of the stuff that I think we should invent has kind of been invented now. And he said, now we got to get back to the pedagogy piece. And to me, that's the new trend, right? Is technology is ubiquitous. And I know everybody's not one-to-one, but technology is ubiquitous out of school. So you can't, and I think Alice Keeler says, teach like the internet exists, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are higher ed. I'm so sick of the Facebook posts that say, kids won't pay attention in lectures. Well, maybe you shouldn't lecture, bro.
Right.
Like, if your metric is, and this goes back to the aesthetic of changing the wrong thing, is if your metric is kids will sit and be enraptured by my speech, you have got another thing coming. But if you would lesson design it so the phone is helping you go up tempo, and the need for things like just like using the Great American Race as a protocol, the phone is now critical. And so I really liked what Kelly said, because I think he's seen the flow before of this kind of like, you know, the bulge in the snake. And so right now I think pedagogy is really paramount.
It's absolutely, as somebody who's in higher ed and works in K-12 as part of what we do as a service, pedagogy.
Yeah.
I have to teach you how to manage and how to utilize this tool to the best of its
Here's
ability.
a good example on the phones. Ryan O'Donnell works in a school district up north, and his district apparently, they provided every teacher with a cubby so that kids could turn their phones in every period. So district-wide, you're supposed to put your phone in the cubby. When you walk into the classroom, put your phone in the cubby. Ryan says, okay, I look over at the cubby and I realize they're all flip phones. And Ryan's like it to the kids, are you trying to tell me that you all have a flip phone? And it turns out they were burner phones.
But yeah, that's what I was just thinking. They just grabbed one out of the Goodwill bucket.
Yeah. They got their dad's old iPhone 1 from 2008, and they're putting a burner phone. But that's the reality, right? Yeah. That's the reality. So we can teach kids to either be fruitful and successful with this scenario, or we can pretend it doesn't exist. Right. And I saw a thing on Facebook about 3 weeks ago. Turns out that schools where phones are openly allowed are safer in terms of cyber safety.
So here's what
I think, it just goes to this, and then I want to hear your thoughts. When it's the old saying is you can't leave the playground unattended. Because it turns into Lord of the Flies. Right. So when kids know that they're adults in the network, the conversations sound different.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. Well, and I've had this conversation with my high schooler, who they have the same policy. You can't have your phone on you. It can be off in your locker, off. And she said, they had an emergency on campus. Okay.
It's
and
crazy.
Campus went into lockdown, and, you know, something scary was happening.
And everybody's cut off.
Right. And she said, my phone, I couldn't get to you, Mom. Like if there was really a fire or there was really an emergency situation, I couldn't, you wouldn't know what was happening to me. And I was like, okay, hopefully nobody at her school is listening, because I feel like, the conversation that she and I had was, if my phone is off and it's in my backpack, who's it hurting? As long as it's off.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to ring in class.
Even if
it's not on
just
silent.
Put it on silent, bro.
Yeah, but like a silent will still do like Amber Alerts if you haven't turned those off
and
yet or
I
something.
think rightly so.
Right?
Please ignore the Amber Alert, because my lesson on pronouns
is way more
I've been
important.
preparing this lesson for 7 weeks, and I will not accept an interruption in the best pronoun lesson
But
ever.
the teacher's phone is going to go off. The teacher's phone is going to go off because theirs is not on
Let me give you 2
silent.
twists on that. Number 1 is, if your mom needs to let you know that she's running late for the dentist appointment, I do not want my classroom phone to ring.
Right.
What's the difference?
Right.
Second, if you need to call your mom because you're sick, I do not want you to march across my classroom to call your mom.
Right.
Text her.
Really quickly.
But the second thing is that we're kidding ourselves with the idea that the learning space is this kind of silent vacuum of, right? So what we did at Minarets High School, and I'm going to tell you right now, it was not perfect. But we had a rule. Ask first. And if you didn't ask first, now you have a problem. It's simple.
Right.
But if teachers do things where, and I've been this teacher, so I know I've been this teacher. You have 30 kids in the room, and you say, work quietly. And then I'm checking my email.
Right.
I get what I get, bro.
Or you're checking Facebook.
I get what I get. Mm-hmm. I get what I get if I'm on Amazon during class. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, if the activity looks like this, do a Frayer on this vocab word and you have 7 minutes and I'm walking around, you don't got time to be on Facebook.
No.
It's a super easy technique. And I know people that are using this same model at higher ed.
Oh, yeah.
I know it.
Busy.
And the adults love this activity better too. But if your aesthetic is, you will work quietly
For the next 40 minutes.
for the next 43 minutes while I go to Oriental Trading and plan the assembly. Dude, you get what you get.
Right.
Like, are we kidding anybody to think that Grandpa didn't have a Superman comic book inside of his history book?
No.
That's right.
Dude, that's a freaking cliche. So this is not a kid thing. This is a human thing. This is a human thing.
I love you. When we met a year ago, you talked about Parkinsons Law.
Oh, yeah.
How everything we do will expand into the time allotment that
Look
we
it
have
up,
to do
people.
it.
Wikipedia.
Oh my gosh.
Wikipedia.
I tell you that has been, in the last year, that's been something that I have really focused
Okay, so
on.
I'm going to go deep on my Zen right now with you. So I was cruising through Barnes & Noble, and my big goal is, and I start a lot of my presentations with this, do kids get Fs because they can't do the work or because they don't do the work? And then I give my classic disclaimer, yes, this does not apply to calc or trig, right? That's a whole other atmosphere. Yes. But in humanities kinds of classes, from the middle of 11th grade down, it does apply. Most kids are going to fail because they don't do the work. And that was my epiphany in around 2002. If I can make them work by making it more attractive or preventing an ability to fail, right? I'm going to prevent failure. If I get them working, they do fine. And kids are gamers. If they get a good grade, they're going to defend it. Oh, yeah. They don't want to lose that lead. So I was cruising through Barnes & Noble, and I see a book that says The History of Work. It's like this thick.
Oh.
It's Bible thick for people that can't see. And I'm like, $1 rack, here we go. So I start reading it. Fiorello LaGuardia, mayor of New York. Here's a quote. My work is my hobby.
Whoa.
What? And so in that book, I see this thing about Parkinson's Law. And it says, all work will expand to meet the time allotted. Okay? So if you've ever done a remodel.
Yes. All contractors.
Here's the architect rule. All projects rapidly proceed to 95% done and then never hit 100. How many of you have done a remodel and there's still one more curtain, one more towel bar, and you never get it done, right? Because the reality of it is you get distracted. So in about 2003, I decided to march, like just the same thing as people say, oh, Q's a conference. Well, no, we're not. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're 365 days. I'm going to run right up that flagpole, right? So, okay, if work is the problem, I'm going to teach them how to not be the problem. Right. And so then my kid-friendly phrasing is, we call it the suck because Parkinson's Law isn't super sexy.
Right.
And when you start teaching kids that you will do this, right? When you go to do a project, there's this quick little burst of excitement and then the long slide of, oh my God, this is going to be a lot of work.
Well, that's because it's like a 2-month project.
Right.
You have 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. So I'll do it all the last day, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the corollaries to Parkinson's Law is if you do everything at the last minute, everything only takes 1 minute.
Right, exactly.
So then I'm like, why don't I just give you 1 minute, right? And I did this with my kids in my English class. I had, every year when I was teaching high school English, I would go to the counselor and say, give me the 27 worst. Just whatever the worst scores are, I'll take that. This is my gift to the rest of the English teachers because I believe that all kids can learn. And I believe I have a technique that will get them moving. And so about the third week of school, I was like, oh my God, you guys, we have an essay due next week. So what's the reaction? Oh. And I go, okay, I hear you. I feel you. So essay's due in 24 minutes. And they're like, what? And I go, let's be honest, guys, because they're all boys. Let's be honest. If I give you an essay that's due next Thursday, when are you going to do it? And they all yell, Wednesday night, except the one kid who's like, Thursday morning on the bus. And I go, okay. How many of you are going to be Googling essays that are similar and you're going to try to beat Turnitin or whatever by cobbling together 4 essays? And that's going to take you like 45 minutes to cobble it together.
How did you know that we were going to do
that? Yeah. Well, because it's a pattern. It's a predator-prey relationship thing, really. And so they're like, well, yeah, we're going to do that. And I go, so now we're down to 23 minutes. And you will be turning this in at the end of this class. And they're like, what? And I go, write about anything you want, but don't stop typing. For the next, well, now we're down to 22 minutes. You should probably really get started. Put your headphones on, because they had MacBooks. You got your Tupac, I don't care. You got your Enya, I'm not judging. Just put your music on and start typing. Share your doc with me. I'll put it in grid view. Thank you, Alice Keeler, for that.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm going to give you feedback while you write. And I'm going to get my cup of coffee. I'm going to walk around, coach you while you write. It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it next week. And then we're going to do it the next week. You don't have any homework. No guilt trip over the weekend. But we're going to do this 34 times this year. And they got where they could knock out a really nice essay in about 20 minutes.
That's amazing.
Right? Because I'm looking at the whole year, not one assignment.
Right. It's a journey.
Right. And I learned that from teaching 6th grade when I got my kids really dialed in 6th grade and they would go through middle school and get trashed in high school by the system. I'm not picking on any particular teacher. So I decided they need to leave my class ready to do battle for the rest of their academic career. So that's my new jam. I'm not trying to get through the year. I'm trying to make you so good that when you hit that junior English teacher or whatever, that you can mow them down.
Yeah, that you can knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Okay, what else you want? Yeah. I can do this. So I moved from, it'd be so great if they could write a 5-paragraph essay. Oh, no. You're going to knock out footnotes. You're going to knock out paraphrasing. You're going to cite your sources. You're going to use textual evidence. You're going to be so fully baked in when you leave my class and so efficient that if you do run into a teacher who's trying to run you off the cliff, you can do battle. And I think if every teacher thought that way, it would change what their year is, because we're all trying to get through the year. I'm trying to fix you for the rest of your life. See the shift?
Yeah, that's a huge shift.
That's a huge shift.
Teachers who just think, I just need to get you through my curriculum.
Yeah.
We're going back to that siloed space again.
It's a silo thing.
Thing. And it's about educating the whole child forever, right? To give them skills that they're going to need moving forward. Mm-hmm. Okay, so...
Should we get on to question 3 now?
Yes, question 3. All right, what do you see when it comes to trends in education technology?
Let me think about that. Trends in educational technology. I think we're kind of hitting a little bit of a plateau. So like some of the tools like Quizzes, Socrative, Formative, Kahoot, they have established an aesthetic now. And I think we're going to have to coast for a while until something new comes out. I think that the Google thing is kind of plateaued as well. Like they're throwing us lots of cool new features. Like I love the subtitles in slides, but the people that will adopt something have.
Right.
And now we need to redouble our efforts to go get the others that don't think they need it. I think Microsoft's bringing on some way better tools. They're getting way more competitive. Apple's doing kind of the same things, but like device wise, we've got there was a time when I said, oh my God, if my laptop could have a built-in CD player, it would be so cool.
And now you're like,
oh my God.
They don't even come with them anymore.
Yeah, if my laptop only had the ability to get on the internet.
Right.
What? That would be so cool. The device I'm currently using is over 3 years old. It's got 16 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of flash drive. I could use this machine nearly indefinitely at this point. So I'm not looking for I think the form factors that we want are mostly in.
Right.
And so for me, the challenge right now is, and like Apple, I don't need you to make this stuff lighter anymore. I literally buy a battery case so my phone won't fly out of my hand if there's a breeze.
Right.
Like when you give me an iPhone without a battery case on it, I'm like, oh, it's flying away. I don't need it lighter, you guys. I need it cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't need it lighter. I need it cheaper. And so I think for me, the biggest tech trend right now is that we need to get the people who aren't self-starters to understand what the potential is. I'm going to go back to the Kelly Bergen quote. Yeah. So I think in technology, we very much have plateaued. I think we're very much at a plateau. The challenge to me is how do we get the aesthetic of the many to reflect the aesthetic of the few. So I don't want a better dot cam. Like there's the iPivos and hover cams are like 4K now, right? And they're $89. It's ridiculous. And if I ever used a dot cam again, I would have I got this straight from Alan November, but I've modified it. If I had a one computer classroom, the kid would be on the computer.
Yeah. And
I would be out on TWA patrol. Right? So I would set up on my computer, I would set up a kid login, and this was what it would sound like all day. One, I need pictures of volcanoes. Go. It's like Alexa in the room, right? I'm like, Susie, let's see an infographic of Game of Thrones or whatever I'm teaching, right? Yeah. And so the kid is running the machine. Right. So I don't need to run it off my iPad. My brain is totally free for engagement. So I think getting that kind of aesthetic in is a big deal. So yeah, I don't have much of I'm not jonesing for anything technology wise. I'm stoked right now.
We've got it. It's now just making sure the teachers are using it to the.
Okay, here's an analogy just popped into my head. What's new in meat?
Yeah.
We've been eating meat for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's maybe that I'm cooking brisket a slightly different way, or I'm having people that have never had brisket for the first time. But I'm not sitting around going, yeah, I wish there was a new kind of meat.
Yeah.
Like we know what's going on in meat, but I didn't realize like one of I shout out to Marlena Hebern. She gave me, I was trying to do Calbee ribs, and what I realized I was missing was ginger. So I tried making them super salty. I tried making them crazy teriyaki. The pop was the ginger, and I just didn't know you needed ginger. So there's your rib thing.
We were transitioning right into EduProtocols, so
this is gonna happen.
You did good. You softballed me with Marlene.
Yeah. So how weird is that though? I'm not jonesing for any gear.
That's cool. That's great.
Right.
Because that means we don't have to spend a lot of time and energy on. We already have it.
It's mature.
You've got it. Mature. We're in a space. It's just a matter of finding what you need. Get that device in the hands of the kids.
I think I'll give a shout out to Mike Niehoff right now. I think he said this about 5 years ago. There will be a time when it looks dumb for schools to supply devices to kids. It's coming. Like this, he said, this is a phase.
Right.
We're not going to be supplying devices to kids forever. No. In fact, if I was starting a charter school right now, I wouldn't even have an IT person. Do you think McDonald's has an IT guy sitting in the back of every location?
No.
Making the Wi-Fi work? Starbucks?
No.
Barnes & Noble, they think they got a full-time Wi-Fi guy. I would hire a Wi-Fi person to set up my Wi-Fi, and then I would say, go.
Right.
I don't need to pay you $100,000 a year.
It's stable now.
I don't need you $100,000 a year to run my freaking Wi-Fi, bro. And then if I was running a charter, I would just say, everybody bring whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can get a Chromebook for $199, and I would set up a foundation, and our annual fundraiser would go to kids who don't have $199.
Right.
And then when it breaks, I would say, you should take it back to Target and have them fix it.
Yeah.
Not my problem. And I think we spend a ton of resources on that side. Now, obviously, if you're a 40,000 kid district, it's a different animal.
Right.
But I'm talking about if that's just one charter school.
Yeah. The private schools.
Right. But my point of the story is how uncrazy does it sound that every kid could show up with a device and get on my network? It doesn't sound nuts.
It doesn't. No,
there was a time when that was bonkers. And just for the record, you're higher ed people, right? Every college in America is BYOD.
Oh, yeah.
When K-12 people are messing with me, they're like, how would this work? This would be crazy. I'm like, every college in America is BYOD.
Right.
How are they able to solve this problem?
Oh, my gosh.
What?
They have a bookstore or
What?
Best Buy or Target or
computers are plentifully available on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's that aesthetic. The aesthetic is I have to give a kids a machine. It has to be locked down and and then you don't. You don't.
You're absolutely right. Okay, we're going to transition one more time.
Okay.
EduProtocols last year when we were here.
Oh my gosh.
The book had just released.
Just dropped. And I didn't even know.
Like a week before.
Right. No, it wasn't a week before.
It was days.
It was the Tuesday before Spring Q. No, maybe it's the Sunday. I got the email.
It must have been the Sunday.
Burgess said, you're going to be live tomorrow. So it was like the Monday or Tuesday.
Because I got mine just in time to get it signed by you that day. Like it literally arrived the day before we left.
You were one of my first.
I was the first. So I love EduProtocols. I teach it as part of the graduate course that I teach, and my students love it. You've seen the results of some of their work. What's next? I've heard some rumors.
Book 2.
Book 2.
It's coming out. It's been written since December. But you got to go through the manuscript process and editing. We got the new covers done. I'm hashtagging big name for the new forward. I fanboyed a little bit. It's an excuse to call one of my superheroes. Can't drop a name yet, but if he approves of the book, he's going to write the forward. And shout out to Alice Keeler for the other forward, because I think I've had people literally text me and said, "I'm only through the forward, and you're blowing my mind."
Yeah.
Right. Like just Alice Keeler's forward right there. She's like, boom, right in the face, that's what I love about Alice. You don't pull the punches. You may not like it, but that doesn't mean she's wrong.
No, exactly.
So book 2 is coming out hopefully in a month or so. We've sold over 7,000 books now, which I frankly, in my heart, I was like, if we could sell 1,000 books lifetime, I would feel pretty good. So we've already done way past that. And so that's really, really cool.
But you have districts adopting the EduProtocols.
Right. I'm not going to drop any names, but there is a district in San Jose that is going to make EduProtocols one of their district adopted pedagogies, which is rad. Because,
that's super cool.
Look, California is 46th out of the nation in funding. Remember the aesthetic thing. We believe that we have to adopt. Turns out not so true. So watch this. I know of another school district in Southern California. They did $3.7 million on a 5-year math adoption. 800,000 of that was workbooks and shipping. I could have flipped that whole district for 300,000. I could have flown them all to Hawaii once a year and done PD in Maui for under 800,000. And they would have been a changed teacher.
Yeah.
And we've got to get off the aesthetic that I need somebody to buy me a book. I'm working right now in very, very early negotiations with one of the biggest districts in the state. They were looking at an $11 million adoption. Do you know how much PD 11 million buys? But the paradigm shift is going from poor to rich because that's only one subject.
Wow.
Now do 5 of those. And you guys know the effectiveness and the efficiency of the EduProtocol mindset because it's not a new thing, which is kind of funny. We have a very small group of detractors, which is normal, right? Not everybody likes tapioca pudding. Like, how could you not like tapioca pudding? What did it ever do to you, right? There are people that don't like things, and that's okay. But I love reading their rationale because their rationale is there's nothing new here. It's just another kind of worksheet. And I'm like, oh, bro, can I just hang out in your class for 2 days and see what you do? Because I'm pretty sure that you're not doing anything that's worth like writing a book about.
Right.
They're in the classics. So book 2 focuses on a couple of new wrinkles. On the first book, we were trying to teach people the aesthetic. So like if you go to a cooking class, you don't go straight to scampi.
Right.
You show people how to do really good mashed potatoes. You show people how to really do a perfect grilled cheese. You might get to macaroni and cheese, but you don't go straight to, carbonara or even better, you don't go straight to Thanksgiving dinner.
Right, right.
That's too big of a jump. So in book 2, we've got some new protocols that are more advanced. So they're more technical. So if people like what that looked like, now they're going to see deeper dives. And then we also talk more about like assessment, because that's one of the other hidden things on protocols is it is the assessment.
It's continuous assessment.
Right. So what I hear a lot is, and just try not to laugh too much, if your district says, we just bought you a new assessment program, the teachers are like, crap, this is going to be some weird, not connected, super expensive, sucky thing that we add on. All right. But the other side of the coin is if the district says, hey, you guys, we got 3 planning days. We want you to make assessments. They're like, well, another thing.
Right.
So the beauty of protocols is the assessment in protocols is the same work you do. It's just that I don't help. That's the only thing that changes. So if you're doing 8 parts, pick your own picture. Go. No talking. You just did 20 standards. If it's sentence parts, pick your own picture. Go. And now when you're talking about mastery grading, literally every kid can do the assignment. Literally every kid can do the assignment with no assessment, with no assistance. Every kid, ELs, RSP, resource, special day, they can all do the assessment. And then I go like, oh, you guys are freaking super smart, right? If it's math reps, the only thing that changes is the number.
Right.
Make your own Iron Chef about any Civil War thing we've covered or haven't covered. Go. And so now instead of kid making 1 slide of an Iron Chef, he makes all 4 slides. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking, I need a Venn diagram. I need a map. And they're using all of those tools on a completely new project. To me, that's true mastery learning. So we talk more about assessments, and then we're looking at some EduProtocols spin-offs. So EduProtocols Math Edition, EduProtocols Primary Edition.
Nice.
So it'll be in a very clear context of, because there's still some people, it was funny, we had a conversation, I think it was Laura Steinbrink, who's a really cool cat. If you don't follow her, she's down in Missouri. She tweeted me and said, hey, I need some EduProtocols for SEL. And I was like, bro, you just changed the subject.
Right, exactly.
You don't need a new protocol because EduProtocols are SEL.
Right.
Because kids are getting things done and they're learning. And so you do a cyber sandwich on sleep deprivation. Right. You do an Iron Chef on the impact of sugar. You do, this one I had some teachers doing. It turns out that eating breakfast is not required. That research was done by people that are called cereal companies. So in a science class, I can teach kids an engaging article, because we've all heard from our mom, got to eat breakfast.
Yep.
I hate breakfast.
Yeah.
I hate breakfast. So I've had to listen to this for 54 years. And it turns out that it's not true. So I'm getting some really good critical thinking going on. And those kids can all go home tonight and tell their mom, I do not need to eat breakfast, and here's my proof. So now I've got textual evidence, all these super rich things going on that help people be more healthy. So I don't need a separate protocol for SEL. Right. Or other people say, I need some for history. I'm like, bro, it's still cyber sandwich. Just change the article. What do we do for ELs? I just do a cyber sandwich.
Right.
You don't have to change it. That's the beauty of it. And
it's the framework, it's built in.
Right. And then we talk a little bit about how schools can deploy EduProtocols. So imagine this as an administrator or a visiting teacher, because you guys visit a lot. I want you to imagine, here's my fantasy. I'm walking down a hallway. I'm not doing this. Oh, lesson 14B, 2. Lesson 14C, lesson 53. Mission report. I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. Fast and Curious. Iron Chef. Sketch and Tell, Book of Kucha. I'm going down the hallway identifying
the framework. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what grade level, because what I'm looking at is the execution of the thing.
Right. Doesn't matter the subject.
The content doesn't even matter.
Yep.
And an observation used to look like this. You've done textbook item 15.3C fabulously.
Yeah.
Wow. Super.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see 15D.
Right.
It's going to be freaking rad.
Yeah.
And then so getting that mindset into the school districts, because think about it this way. If you could train your teachers on 10 protocols district-wide, they spontaneously start making their own. They spontaneously start app smashing, right? They spontaneously do those things. So you guys have seen 8 parts, right? So there's a teacher, and I forgive me, I can't remember her name. So she took the 8 parts concept and moved it over to like a detailed thing on types of nouns. So it's 8 parts, but it's all the kinds of nouns. And then she used the Bitmoji, the random emoji generator to trigger the sentences. So she's mashed up 2 things. So she took her own twist on, I think it was capitalization, like all the capitalization rules. And then there was like 12 rules. So she takes emoji from the random emoji generator, and then you have to write sentences using correct capitalization. That was never in my head.
Right.
But she's just taken that and mixed it. So imagine this in school districts. You want to talk about cool stuff? Imagine districts having quarterly shows where they reveal new EduProtocols.
So cool.
Developed by their own teachers who get a sweet stipend of $3,000 for a district-approved new protocol. What does that look like in 20 years? You could literally have a book of 100 approved protocols, and you obviously wouldn't be limited to those.
Right.
Imagine if you're a new teacher. If I could do 3 days of PD with you as a first-year teacher and teach you 4 protocols a day, dude, you're gone.
Yeah.
You are gone.
You don't, your mind is blown. You don't need anything else.
Now you're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the first time somebody takes you to a food truck and you're like, oh, that food truck does lobster everything. I didn't know that was possible.
I can eat for...
I could totally do that.
Something new every day.
Right.
I shared with Marlena that, a couple days ago when I saw her is that the EduProtocols that we did in our class last semester.
And that's the other thing. I think I'm going to cut you off at the pass here, which is you can teach adults the protocols.
Yeah. We did it. We taught.
And then all you do is different link.
Yep.
The flow is the same.
Yep.
You just change what they look at. Kim Vogie, who's another person, she's on one of the other new things we're developing, EduProtocols podcast. And so the format's going to be 15-minute show, one teacher, one protocol. So they're going to talk all about Cyber Sandwich and how they mastered that.
So
and then
cool.
there'll be links, right? So it's like one teacher, one protocol, 15 minutes. And Kim the other day did demo lessons with 210 kids in 5 groups that she had never met before.
Wow.
And they each group did like 2 protocols. And she said, I have never been so successful as a teacher. Because she knew what the kids were going to struggle with because she'd done that pedagogy before.
Yeah.
She knew where the weak spots were. She had never met the kids before. And she did it in front of their own teachers. And she's like, let's go. Worst presentation ever. Here's the rules. Boom, 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 go. And then she started TWAing. She goes, I have never been so fresh at the end of the day with working with kids. 210 kids. No teachers I know hit 210 except PE. Like most high school teachers tap out around 150.
Yeah.
Right? So she had like a whole extra class. 210 kids she'd never met and rocked the whole day. And so the observation teachers were like, oh my God, you're the best. He goes, no, it's all technique.
Yeah.
It's not a personal feature. It's not a certain magic that I have. I'm not Robin Williams. I'm not Aaron Gruel. I'm using a very specific technique that is easy to reproduce.
Yeah.
And it turns out that that's the best kind of PD is when you do it to their own kids, right?
Because they always say, "Oh, my kids can't do they can't do that. They're not ready for that."
When you do it to their own kids right in front of them, then they're like, "Oh, you got me. You got me. You got me."
And they're just doing it for you, right? Like,
yeah.
they say,
You're so fun.
You're new.
So
they don't know you. They're being good.
They're being good because you're a stranger.
But then it's like, no, they can do it. No. Okay. Finally, last question.
Okay, so last year, Jon, when we interviewed you, you had just become the new executive director for Q. Mm-hmm. Now you're moving into a new position. Interesting position. I just want to hear.
Well, it's really more like a retrograde. So I'm going back to what I was doing before. So we had a staff shift, and there was an opportunity for me to help really modernize our systems and our internal stuff. And I said, yes, I will. So I did that, and it's been, I think altogether it's been like 18 months of that, which is cool. But I did a gig in Australia for at iPad Art Room, Kathy Hunt. Shout out to Kathy Hunt. And on the way back on the plane, it was like 3 a.m. Our board president, Andrew Schwab, had told me, at some point you'll need to replace you. Like the role that you did, if you're going to be the executive director, you need to replace you. And because I'm a wild shape-shifting thinker, I was like, maybe I don't need to replace me. Maybe me being me is the best job for me. And I was talking to some people at breakfast. Q is not a cult. We do not fit a cult definition because Q is not about any one person, right?
Right. It's
otherwise we would be a cult. Right. If it was all about one person, everybody be following that one person. But we're not. We're like a hydra. Like we have many features and facets. Yeah. And so I said, you know what? I really enjoy doing PD, so that's what I should do. And I can go find us, and we had 100 applicants. We can find a really great person to do administration and to run the budget. There's tons of people that can do that really well. But I just felt like me being me, For the long term, PD is my jam.
No, I totally get
I
it.
did a really good job impersonating an administrator because I have certain Zelig-like qualities. Shout out to Woody Allen. But when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to think cash flow.
Right.
When I wake up in the morning, I don't want to think new handbook. And that when you're the executive director, that's what you have to. That's your jam. So I feel really, really, really happy to have helped this organization transition to a fully modern organization. Like before, we had staff members that were keeping track of this conference on yellow pads.
Oh,
Like they were literally making paper spreadsheets.
that causes me anxiety.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. And I was like, bro, so now we're like all of our back end planning is done in Monday.
I love Monday. Yeah.
Right. So now we're modern there. We redid our accounting package. We have a new web page. We have a new registration system. We are now using, we use the direct texting stuff during the conference. How did you guys like that from Kate?
Love that. Love that.
So I feel like that is now a fully mature, well, nothing's ever done, right? But our back end stuff is now modern. Right. And we have a staff that gets it customer service wise and all those kinds of things. So I feel like, hey, I can step aside and just go nutty on PD. Because if you thought I've been busy the last year, I've been doing all that. So think about this. New webpage, new registration system, new accounting package, new handbook, new retirement policy, all that stuff in addition to what you see. Now I don't have to carry that around anymore. I'm like, hey, I'm at the meeting. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I used to have to plan everything, right? And then Danielle Forst, who's the associate executive director, she's great. And Jason Selascar, who handles our exhibitors and affiliates, is great. And obviously everybody knows Kate. And we have other staff members like Mary Kopp. You know, they're all amazing. Like with all of them, I don't have to think about how they're going to solve problems. That's my favorite thing. Like they've been given the leeway, make people happy. We'll fix the details later. So I feel like that culture has been really nicely established and everything's working. And now we can bring in somebody who, and I wait for it, specializes in admin. Mm-hmm. Specializes in admin. I just did what I always wanted my boss to do to me. That was my guideline for the whole 18 months was if I was not working for me, how would I want to be led? So I just try to make decisions that I would want to make for me. So I'm super excited to get back into just being full-time PD.
We're very excited too, because you do such a great job.
Yeah. I mean, I think I only did one session here this year because I was busy. Next year, it's going to be party on. Yeah. Right. It's going to be big time.
Well, we've had a great time being the podcast for Q, the social media champ.
Oh, yeah. And that's just another new thing that we've done, right? We've got people that want to interact with us, so why not just feature them, right? And we used to have consultants that did that, but one of the things we said was, why don't we have real members leveling up? And how much more visibility have you guys gotten because of that arrangement, right?
A ton.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. And
it's been so much fun to meet people.
Yeah. Well, we basically give you carte blanche to ping anybody under the auspices of Q, right? So you can now call people and go, hey, I'm working for Q and I want to do this thing. So we are very clear with our social media champs to go out and leverage you to leverage us, right? So do that with no shame. And then if anybody likes the sound of that, every 6 months we pick up a new team and your tenure's running out.
May 31st.
May 31st. So we'll be opening a call for new social media champs. And then I just think it's a really cool collaborative piece because you guys were going to do the show anyways.
Right.
But now you can hook to us, double, quadruple your listenership. That benefits us for you guys as members. And then we pick up another show. I'm winking at you, Brent Coley. I'm winking at you. And then now Brent's already got an awesome thing going. Maybe he applies and then maybe it gives him national exposure instead of West Coast or whoever. There's so many great podcasts out there.
Yeah, there are.
And so that's just part of my collaboration piece, which is letting you guys leverage our 20,000 people on Twitter and our 5,000 on Facebook to boost your messaging.
And you're not done with us. I mean,
I have no. And
you can't get rid of us that easily.
And I love the fact that you guys are joining the New to Q team, which again was grassroots, right? 3 weeks ago, somebody's like, hey, we should probably have a hashtag. For people that are, and somebody's like, hey, New to Q, what a great idea. So now now the whole marketing plan kicks in. We need stickers, we need a web page, and maybe you guys are the official podcast of New to Q. So I just riff it. And then since what you do for a living is,
we do a lot of professional development for teachers.
And then we have the Higher Ed Learning Network, which I think you guys are involved with. So you guys can be the voice of that. And then all of a sudden, here goes this marketing, what's the word I'm looking for? Flywheel, right? So you've increased your readership or listenership. Now you can focus, and then we pick up another one. Brent Coley, I'm winking at you, and then maybe he spins off and starts working the admin a lot. Yeah. And so that to me is what it looks like. That's again, we are not a cult. I was thinking about making shirts that said Q is not a cult, not a cult.
Well, and it's a community. Right. That's who we are. Right. And that's what I try to tell people is we're an amazing community of educators across California and Nevada and even further out. I mean, I know there were people beyond. Oh,
we had a bunch
space.
of Canadians down. I'm working on
awesome.
them with they're like, can we be Canada Q? And I'm like, we don't have a plan for that. So
it's like North California.
Let me check with the board. Let me check with the board on that.
North, extreme.
But my teacher's heart says anybody that wants to be part of the family should be. So I got to figure out what are the machinations of how that looks in real life.
And Q is free now.
Yeah, and it's free. So like,
there's no excuse.
Yeah, if 5,000 people joined from Canada, what am I supposed to do except love them? That's my job. So
we take everybody.
That's right.
Everybody can come.
We don't judge.
Well, we want to thank you for your time.
Right. And for a new hashtag, we are hashtag big fan.
Yes. Okay, I like
you.
It. Big name, big fan.
Did you see our big fans
I didn't see
that
it
were
yet.
out there?
No,
we will give you a fan.
Okay, I love it because it's so hot today here in Palm Springs. It's like 84.
So we're big fans of you. We're big fans of obviously everything that happens that Q does. I'm probably a lifetime member of Q. I don't know. I keep paying dues no matter what. Whenever there's something, I just keep paying. So
I love it.
So thank you for your time. We're looking forward to whatever's coming next year, and we'll see you for sure at Q Bold.
Yeah, Q Bold. That's the next thing.
Big one.
We really want to have about 500 teachers there. We got a super good price. It's $129 for 2 days.
Yeah, we're bringing
unheard of
because you're closer to San Diego this year. We're bringing a bunch of our San Diego teachers that we work with at the university.
And if somebody's listening, you'll say, "What's Bold?" It's a really deep dive on lesson design and classroom design, like serious deep dive on how can, I've really co-opted Bob Dylan and Rebecca Hare's book, The Space, which is an amazing book, but it's, by rearranging the classroom, you can actually get better scores just by rearranging, being purposeful about the classroom. And then we have the Lesson Builders Fair, which is all Madeline Hunter stuff. And there's a whole generation of teachers who have no idea who she is.
No idea. You're right.
That's like being an artist and saying Van Gogh. What?
Yeah, who's that? I don't know
weird
who that is. To
have that gap in our knowledge. And I blame NCLB for that, right? The mindless pursuit of scores over human interaction.
Yeah.
It was kind of the saccharin of education. So
well, we're really excited. We're doing a lot to promote that, both internally at the podcast and then I'm externally at my other paid job.
Yeah, it's still small. Bold is probably as close as Q gets to a cult. It's got like cult-like following. The people that go are like, I'll go wherever. I'll go to Canada for that because they're so bought into the change it makes. And one of the other cool things is for TOSA types that you can come back with 40 ready to go lesson plans.
Yeah. No, it's
deployable. Not just use this app to do this one green screen thing. It's a full ecosystem.
I was going to say it's really deep. It's one of the most deep conferences.
Yeah, it's super intense, which is weird because the sessions are only half an hour.
Right, but yet you're like taking the takeaways are different than what you would get here.
Right. And that's one of my favorite parts. We do the half hour and then the disco ball goes on in every room.
Yeah.
And then there's an after party. And think of it like a miniature ed camp, right? So you just saw this cool thing. It blows your mind. But you get it. Right. So you go to another session, pick up another session. But you get it except for, so you can sit down with the presenter. There's a purposeful sit down time where you can say, you made me think of this and upgrade their lesson.
Yeah.
Or I teach 8th grade and this was really 6th grade. How can I co-opt this? And you get that little face-to-face hands-on time.
That was huge. That was where I was able to make, just as an educator, more connections in my PLN at the last Q Bold.
Right. And then you're working together on lessons,
Yeah.
which is the best possible way. So that was an iterative thing though. Year 1, we didn't have that. We did the half-hour sessions, and then people were like, oh, this session blew my mind, but I want more. So we talked it over, and we're like, okay. So that we stay symmetrical, 30 minutes. The disco ball is so that if you stick your head in a door and a disco ball is going off, you can go, oh, it's an after party.
Yeah.
And I can just drop in. Hey, Lindsay Blast, let's hang out. So that disco ball is a very clear visual that this is an unstructured time period.
Right.
Plus, it's just fun.
It's just fun.
They're like $9 on Amazon. Let's all buy 5.
And where is it this year?
Carlsbad, Sage Creek High School, which is a freaking amazing site. Amazing.
Excellent. I'm excited.
You can have a cool classroom to visit.
2. I'm actually debuting what I'm calling the racetrack classroom. And so you've seen 360, right? The problem with 360 is my laptop's over on my desk. So I want you to visualize a bar height table that goes all the way around the perimeter of the room. So now I can have my laptop right here and my whiteboard right here for every kid. And then we're debuting a couple of really cool new things. Boxlight has an 11-foot long interactive whiteboard with 32 touch points.
Whoa.
Means 32 people can be working at once.
That's a whole classroom.
Yeah. Except it's only 11 feet long, so it'll probably be about 9 people.
Yeah.
But
big people, little people. You can get a lot more.
So imagine a classroom, whiteboards all the way around, okay? And then about 2.5, 3 feet off the wall, there's a pub table, about 22 inches wide, skinny. That means the middle of the classroom is wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody gets like one of those Target metal stool kind of things. And so if you're sitting or standing, I can't even tell because everybody's at pub height.
Everybody's higher up.
Yeah, because that standing thing is cool until you have kids that aren't standing, and then it's weird because some people are and aren't standing.
Yeah.
So, and then Rebecca Hare, who I already mentioned, she's coming back and doing an English classroom, and she is absolutely magical at helping people understand the interaction of the workspace and the academic achievement.
That's going to be great.
We've talked about aesthetic. One of the first things I want teachers to stop doing is stop decorating your room. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. If you don't agree with me, I want you to Google this phrase, clutter hurts your brain.
I have that article pinned in my bookmarks.
And here's the worst part. We spend the last 3 weekends before the school year starts decorating our classroom, which is actually a subtractive activity. And I'm going to go full circle. Remember, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. So I've been in my classroom decorating till 11 o'clock the last 5 days before school. So I'm gassed the first day of school.
Right.
How about this? End of school, I strip the walls. Beginning of school, walls are stripped. Now, me personally, I wouldn't add anything. The cliche is, oh, they love having their work up. They do not. They tell you they love having their work up because they've been programmed to tell you that they have love. They do not. I guarantee you. The only ones that love having it up are the grade grubbers. And I'm sitting here as a 2.9. I did not love having my essay up on the wall. I did not. I did not. I guarantee you, I did not.
Well, because you can see it looks different sometimes. You know, mine doesn't look the same as everybody. I'm not as artistic as everyone else.
What I learned in first grade is that I never get gold stars. That's what I learned.
I learned that I'm not a good artist.
Right. So I don't need that. Let's just leave the wall freaking alone and uncluttered. And that way I don't have to tell the kids, focus on me, because they're not looking at the stupid jungle tree thing I built. They don't need that, man. All the decoration you need is on your laptop and on your LCD screen. So imagine this, and I'll close with this. Perfectly clean classroom. Whiteboards everywhere, like Finland clean. And then 4 60-inch TVs with a fireplace playing. Ooh. And the lights down low.
Comfortable.
Who doesn't like that?
It's comfortable.
It's time for silent reading. I have 4 fireplaces going. Lights are off.
Nice. I'm ready.
Or how about this? It's time for state testing. There is no rule about having 4 fish tanks up.
No.
During state testing. Can you imagine aquariums going?
That'd be
during
awesome.
State testing?
How relaxing is that?
Right? Oh, no. I want to staple up 900 pictures that people don't want publicly posted. No. Oh, food pyramid. Oh my God! If the food pyramid was going to work, it would have worked in the 60s.
Yeah, we're.
How much time is dedicated to?
Oh, it's stupid. And the money and stop. Just stop, you guys. Just go bare classroom. Try it. Try it for a month.
Try it. Yeah,
You'll be thrilled.
See how it goes.
Here's my next year. I need to start a thing. Next year's challenge. Don't decorate. # don't decorate.
Oh.
Don't. I'm going to make that a thing.
Okay.
All right,
we'll help you.
Okay, let's do that.
When
don't
it goes,
decorate.
we're
don't decorate.
Don't decorate.
And then we have to help the admins because they come in and say, "Oh, the kids love it when." Dude, that was in 1974. It ain't 1974 anymore. Stop it.
When there was nothing else to do except the textbook.
Yeah. If you want to decorate your classroom, use Seesaw to send home real work, right?
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad want to see a 3-month-old essay about puppies. They do not.
No.
They do not.
We have appreciated every minute with you today.
I could do this all day with you guys.
I know. We love it. We love it.
Okay, next year.
Same show. Let's mark it up right now. That'll be the 22nd of March next year. Next year's Spring Q is on the 19th to 21st.
We'll be here.
Awesome.
All righty.
Thank you, John, so much.
Anytime.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the year.
I'm going to do PD tomorrow because I can't stop.
Why would you take vacation?
Yeah. Remember Fiorello LaGuardia.
Yeah. Keep
My
going.
work is my hobby.
Yeah. I love it. That's where I'm going
When
to.
I get my hooks into 30 more teachers tomorrow, I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to drive home and then back to Riverside. So
Yeah,
it'll be,
why not?
You know,
Yeah.
it's like
You get your miles up.
Yeah.
It's like steps, but they're miles.
They're miles. You have a great week. Thanks, John.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And
we're out. Thanks for listening to the My Tech Toolbelt Podcast. If you have enjoyed listening, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or send us some feedback on our website, mytechtoolbelt.com. We would love to hear from you. This will help us deliver the content that you want to hear. Thanks, and we're out.